Hey everybody, so in this week's video we've got a few things going on. We've got a dinghy mount that we're making for the new dinghy on the back of the boat. And we also help out our neighbor. He's got a broken shackle up at the top of his mast, so we bring it over to the shipyard for him. And the last thing we're doing is working on the troubling engine mounts. We've got this shake vibration going on and it needs attention. Follow the leader, eh? If one goes, they all go. Did he hiss at you?
Wait for me, guys! Guys, wait for me!
13. We're only going to pump it up 2 pounds. They recommend 15, but we're just going to do 13. Just let it sit for a couple of days. Make sure there's no leaks at 13 before we give it up full power.
So now do I do the sides?
Yeah, do the sides. So what did it say? 3.6? So bring it to 3.5. Yeah. So that pump's pretty good?
Yeah. Okay, it's hard to see though.
So they recommended inflating the sides to just a bit of a shape. Do the middle first, and then the outside.
See, the first line is 4. Because it says 5, and then there's a line right before 4.
That's bar. So yeah, PSI is on the outside.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, good luck. David's gonna go get the other boat, bring it back, and I'm gonna go get it, put it on the trailer. It's a little high. When I'm in the boat, the little fin is supposed to be at the water line. Bought this boat with very little, had no working engine, no instruments, and I gutted it, I pulled the engine out, and then I decided to go electric. So I put an electric motor in and had a whole learning curve about that. So I learned about batteries and charging systems and wiring and house banks, all the different solar panel and monitoring systems. And that's what this channel is about. It's about sharing the knowledge that I learned, documenting my journey as I retrofitted this boat. I'm looking forward to next year. Next year I'm going to be taking the boat out to the coast, into the ocean, and I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully you can follow along and join me. Bending the new dinghy lift. You can see it's starting to bend. It's good. The more you do that, I see this side over here is lifting up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my bends went pretty good, but I was, for some reason, 3 inches too wide at the top here, kind of in this span here. So I just basically tacked it. I cut it, took a piece out, and just did some welding here with my my little two-limb welder, and I gotta say that's been the best welding job I think I did with stainless steel. I only used 1 rod to get all the way around the pipe there, and I'm just gonna grind it and yeah, then we'll be done. It says after doing that arch, I says I've picked up a new skill welding. It says I'm nowhere near a pro, but at least I can make it arc. All right, grinded it out. You can see it's a little bumpy, but hey, I'm an amateur. Good enough for me. It's definitely strong. Well, it's too big to fit in the Jeep. So it's a little hick here, what we're doing. David's gonna hold on to it while we drive. We got it tied down here on this end. But, so it's not gonna go anywhere, but yeah, we're gonna get wet. It's not that deep, it's just about maybe an inch thick on the transom. That's pretty thick. We're gonna get ready to install the brackets. Oops, I'm getting rained on again. It's not exactly the best day to be doing this.
I think it's stopping.
Yeah, an inch, maybe even more, 1.25 inches. There's a bird behind me. First time, David's lifting it up. So it looks like we're gonna have to put some lashings or something to hold it up.
That's as far as it goes. Because it hits.
It's hitting. So we're missing, we had to use these jaw clamps because we couldn't, nobody's got 1.5 inch top end caps that'll fit into this little thing. So we're pretty close. Looks like we've got room up there, but we're hitting basically right here. That there is the new dinghy lift. So we put some ends on it here. Some eyes. Had to drill through all that stainless. That was very frustrating. And then up at the top, I've got some clips here to clip the dinghy to it and lift it up with the pulleys. Ignore the big black cloud in behind there. It's not gonna rain. Think it's gonna rain, David?
Probably.
Probably, hey. He's not an optimist. Well, we're gonna get that arch installed onto these little pegs here on the transom. So David's got to try to not drop it in the water. Maybe keep your feet on it, your toes on it. Yeah, there you go. Let go. Okay, we'll snug it up after. That's a good start. Okay, let's go down. Good? Watch yourself. Just get that under the boat somehow. There you go.
But it's gonna have to be like the world's biggest boat. Like,
Those look like they're too long for sure. Definitely need that one on the other side. And I just need to tie them here. If I do that, right? Or should I still go for putting the cleats here on the side? Well, let me get the tape measure. Hey everybody, so it's we're getting there with this dinghy lift. It's definitely a lot more stable with the two. I just had one in the middle in the beginning, but this is definitely a lot more stable here now. So I switched the lines to 3/8 instead of 7/16. The 7/16 was just too big. And then the same thing here. And then I color coded them green and red just so I can remember what side's what. Maybe more particular on the dinghy down there below. So David is just going to extend the green lines just a little bit more, like maybe a foot more, just so it's hanging down and not so that if the rain gets into the dinghy, it's not perfectly flat. So he did a good job of making them like almost perfect. I don't know, did you change it much? Yeah, okay, so do the same. We'll try that. The ropes actually act as part of the triangle, and then as this bar comes up, its angle is more than 45%, so it's taking some of the load and directly connecting it right here on the transom. So the load is actually not on the arch. The dinghy weighs 60 pounds. I probably could just lift it up with the motor on it, but I think I like the motor here, unless I'm going to be just doing a really quick thing. But I've already tested it with the motor, and it lifted it with just one of the pulley systems. So these 3/8 lines can hold 2,000 pounds. Actually, I think it's 3,000 pounds, and the pulleys handle 2,000 pounds with 3/8, so it's just a ton. So there's all kinds of weight in there. Probably my weakest thing here is I've got a slightly smaller than 3/8 line here, but I changed out one of my lines, so I'll figure out something. I might get a clamp, another jar clamp, like down below, and then figure out how just to loop it in. I think 2 more jar clamps will get rid of the ropes, and then I'll be done. This is just for today. So anyways, we're going to raise it up. More or less in the middle there. It's a little bit off, but that's not bad for hand bending, I don't think, eh?
yeah.
Considering that we hand bended that. So if it was up a little higher, it would have hit the bar already. Last time it didn't hit the bar. So we'll have to go make it shorter again. One more time. But the theory worked. David's pulling his hair out. He's like, no, not again. Captain Dave. We're out on Dave's Oceanis 54, and we're bringing her in to get the sheave changed up at the top of the mast. This is the dry docks over at Harbor West. It's a beautiful boat, lots of room. Dave says that boom weighs 3,000 pounds. I don't believe him, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
You don't think so? So we're safe in the slip. This was the fastest that I've ever gone from the marina to the lift here, which is like 3.5 nautical miles, I think, or 3 nautical miles. We came over at 7.5 knots under motor in this thing. And yeah, it was like no time. My boat, I would be like 3-4 knots max. So it was like double the time, triple the time maybe. So yeah, something else. Beautiful boat. This is the Oceanis 54. And the cockpit layout is really nice, actually. There's like a lot of room and just logical. It's got the multi-tables, just amazing. He's going to give David a hand here today. He's got a shiv that's off the block at the top, and he's going to get some new instruments up there. The lift isn't quite tall enough. It's short by 6 feet. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to do it.
That's a lot of swans. I don't think I've ever seen this many in one spot.
Swan Central. Our sunset right now. Hamilton Harbor.
I didn't think you would bring your phone. What if you fall in the water?
Oops. Sorry guys, I didn't really mean to go after you like that. I will go by you.
Look at these. They got their heads in the water.
They must be
Eating seaweed.
eating some seaweed, eh?
So these have seaweed dangling from their beaks. Unless that's the style, the fad right now.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 swan right here. David is yawning his head off. Well, hey guys, it's a pretty cramped area here. I don't have pretty much any room to move working, but I accidentally, I was trying to deal with a wobble in my prop shaft here, and I took the motor out, but then I loosened the motor mount, and then I realized that the reason why I was having a bit of a vibration was that the rubber underneath my my motor arms is compressed. I'll show you. So I'm basically tearing apart the whole motor mount here because I just wanted to try to recenter this shaft, the prop shaft back here. It's like super awkward to get into the shaft. I had to loosen to try to refine the middle, and then you can see here on the left right here this rubber dampener that I put in. I think it just compressed, or I'm not entirely certain. It's just slightly out of alignment, so maybe I'm being too picky here, but I just want to take those out and then change them to a different style of thing. But anyways, it is super cramped in here, and it's hot. It's like 30 degrees, and I'm just tearing apart the motor mount. I'm taking everything all apart so that I can try to figure out what's wrong. I think after reflection, the motor mount, which is this red piece that I made, is not quite square with this shaft. I think that's the problem. But what happened was is I loosened this, and I just want to, I need to get the shaft in the middle. So basically, if it's not quite in the middle, then over here on the stuffing box, it actually rubs the side. You can see it move. So there's like one spot where it's free, like I don't feel resistance when I'm turning it. Like right there, actually feels really good. So, but it's on the bottom of this thing. You can see it's touching right there right now because I got it all loose and lifted up and everything. So I just want to take this thing out enough so I can adjust the plate a little bit more. The problem with those big rubber bushings that I put in, which is basically to help with vibration, is that I can't get the wrench underneath them because they've been compressed and they fell. So I think what's happening is that the motor just over, it's moving, traveling. It's been a few years now. It basically pushed the rubber down around the nut underneath it. So there's basically a floater nut underneath that that thing. And, I don't know how else to explain it, but let's see if I can just get it on the video anyway. So you can kind of see that this here rubber, I'm trying to take off, and then there's a nut underneath it. So I'm just going to make this rubber smaller so that it fits underneath and I can get my wrench on it, because I still need a vibration dampener, but I just don't need this big thing, but I can't lift it. So it's up at the highest it's going to go, and I can't get that little piece off because the shaft is hitting the bottom here, right on the piece here. So I'm going to work on this, just trying to get that off. It's a miracle that I got this thing to align up. Alright, so now I remembered a couple of other things. I've got some washers in behind, just to make it more complicated. The plate wasn't quite on the right angle to this angle. So what I did is I put no washer. I put one washer and two washers in between the two things, of course, just to make my life more interesting. So this is what I'm working on. I'm getting this out here on the front. I just need to lower these. But they've been squished really thin. So I couldn't get my wrench on here to get this bolt to go up or down. So now I'll be able to get that in there. I'll be able to raise this up. Or put it down. So basically put it down to the bottom and then drop my thing on. I just need to put a little rubber in there, so I'm going to cut one now. Okay. Get my little rubber bushings on. There we go. This one. Silicone makes a big mess on everything. That's the heat transfer silicone paste between the controller pickup liquid pickup board. Okay. All right. Let's see how this does now. Again. Okay, well, I'm relatively optimistic that I'll get this back together. Let's see how this goes. It's hot. Well, I got some progress. I got my 6 bolts in. Now I'm going to put the 4 thrust bearing, I guess it's my homemade thrust bearing, but thrust bearing on the shaft, and I can see that I'm too far to the left already. So I'm going to just see how that lines up, because right now it's at the bottom of the shaft of the I don't even really know what the right terminology is, but basically there's a tube that comes in from the outside, and then there's a shaft collar seal that goes on there that has it's like a drip seal, and it's got a piece of like rubber, looks like exhaust hose, and it slips over this tube, and the shaft goes in between, and then there's like a nut with wax that you put in there to keep the it's called the stuffing box wax, but or the shaft collar seal. It's got a bunch of different names, but anyways, just looking at it, it looks to me like my whole panel is a little bit too far off center by like a half an inch or 5 millimeters, something like that. But I don't have the collars things bolted in yet, and there's still some play on there. So what I need to do is I need to get the play to be in the center. So I'm just going to draw a reference line underneath on the ground, directly underneath, and I'm just going to use that as a visual aid to say, yeah, I'm in the bottom. The tube's fairly wide and the shaft is in the middle, and if the shaft is like, let me just give a demonstration sort of what I'm trying to do here. So there's kind of like shaft, and yeah, don't make any funny jokes on this one here, but the shaft goes through this the pipe, and we just don't want it slapping around the sides. So it needs to be in the middle. So the theory is that if it's in the bottom, in the middle, and we raise it, then we'll be in the middle, and then just up enough to keep the tension off. So I've got the mount lowered all the way down, and then I'm just going to slowly raise it up until I feel the tension leave the shaft, and then maybe I'll bring it up, you know, just quarter turns at a time on the bolts till I get it to the point where it's like, okay, just a little bit high, and then I'm going to tighten it down on the front with the rubber will compress a little bit, and it should be just in the middle then of the shaft, so I'm not banging all the sides around. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. It's looking pretty good. Trying to do a couple of things. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I basically adjusted the bolts here underneath. I don't know if you can even see that there, but anyways, and I basically just pulled it off the center, and this feels really good. So now what I need to do is just bolt her down tight, and pray I'm in a good spot. So I think when I get it snug on the top, I'll snug the bottom, snug the top, until I get it basically 2 bolts sandwiching the plate so it doesn't move. Oh, all right. Well, it seems pretty reasonable turning here with my hand. Does not feel like it needs a lot of effort, so I think I'm definitely improved this. There's actually 2 stators in this motor, so that's why there's 2 wires. So it's interesting, you can actually run 2 controllers to the same motor. It's got 2 Hall sensors off of 1 controller, or put a second controller to distribute the load to the single motor, and actually run 2 controllers, and basically you'll cut your load in half. So I guess the theory there is that if you're having overheating problems and you can't seem to solve them, that would be a way to be able to do it. So by just having a second controller, if the load is halved, then you would end up having half the demands, half the heat dissipation, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I'm going to give this a try here now, see what happens. Alright, power on. That there is my fuse, just to put back on. And I'm going to run some tests. Green means go. I don't hear any knocking. I'm going to call that a success. What was happening when I was motoring was I was hearing a little knock, and it was going tick, 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 tick. So the shaft was actually hitting the side of the tubes. And then the reason why is if you look at that, it just got squished. So it was it didn't have any more give, but that actually gave it play. So it's a lot tighter now. I'm going to just put the camera on it so that I can see what happened. That is the wobble that I'm trying to get rid of, and I mistakenly thought it was at the shaft, but I think it's actually out here on the motor. So this jar coupler is just not quite aligned between the motor, and the shake is actually the jar coupler kind of hitting it. Basically right here, that middle. Right here, this middle piece is actually a neoprene gasket, and it's taking the wobble, but as you can see, it's pretty significant. So when I hold this down, I'm forcing the neoprene to bend more, whereas right now the neoprene's trying not to bend, so I just got to figure out which way to push this to get rid of that wobble. But I'll do that tomorrow. Well, it's been a good test. I tweaked it a little bit, and I was watching the watts, and I was able to lower the watts a little bit by adjusting the motor mounts, and I got it quieter. So I think it's in a good spot. I checked it with my hand, and it's pretty easy to turn, so I think I'm back to normal on that part. I still have a bit of a wobble, but I'm going to work on that tomorrow. Basically the outer motor I think is just not quite aligned, so the spider or the jar coupler with the spider gear is taking up that vibration right now, because it's made to basically, if you're slightly out of alignment, to be able to handle that. But it can't be much. It's like a degree or two. It's just a slight shake like this, and it doesn't seem to get worse with speed. It's like it stays about the same. So I'm going to work on that tomorrow and see if I can get that last little bit out. So I'm going to just pull the outside motor mount up, down, just try to shift the motor a little bit, but I'm going to leave it all connected, and then just see if I can get rid of the shake. But overall, super happy. Glad to get the shaft realigned, the prop shaft, and yeah, hopefully my energy consumption is good. So basically when the shaft was touching the side of the tube that exits the boat on the hull, I felt like it was rubbing, and the motor had to work harder to keep the same speed. So basically I had almost cut 50% of my distance or whatever, because the effort required was so much higher to move the boat. And I was like, why does it feel like it's so laborious? And then I realized is that when I did the adjustment to try to get rid of the prop noise, you know, it hadn't, I just didn't get it right. And then but I was kind of doomed to fail because of those rubber mounts where they had been crushed too far and it had too much play in it, so I just went the wrong direction. That was about it. So I got them out. I put a new little shorty in there just to keep the vibrations down, and I think it's a lot better now because I can get my wrench on it to tweak it further if I feel it still needs a little bit of tweaking. Yeah, so I'm a little tired. It's about midnight, burning the midnight oil, as they say, and but I'm getting there, and I feel like this is licked, getting halfway licked. My prop shaft is straight. I'm happy about that. I'm not going to tinker with that too much. But the outer coupler could still use a little improvement there. So I'm going to work on that tomorrow. Right, cheers. More later.